We mentioned the far right a couple of times there. Someone who has used the phrase far right whenever it suits him is one of my good friends, Sadiq Khan. If you don't know already, you'll like that one. If you don't know already, I started a petition against Sadiq Khan, who's rumoured to be getting a knighthood in the New Year's honours. And probably today, it will pass 200,000 signatures in about 2 weeks. I never anticipated it would do this well. And look, we know it's not going to stop the knighthood. We know it's not going to make the difference, but it's given people a voice and ability to vent anger in a way that's different to perhaps what we saw over the summer. What's our thoughts on Sadiq Khan's mayoralty, whether he deserves a knight or whether he's just a knight mayor? I'll come to Narinder first.
Yeah, so I saw very quickly that you did this petition, and I always get very surprised why people are so unhappy about Sadiq Khan. I live in London. I don't know about you two.
Same.
I live in London. I love living in London. I've lived in Leicester, Birmingham, Newcastle, everywhere. London's my favourite city. He's done a lot of good. He's been voted in 3 times. So people obviously love him. They like him. Londoners like Sadiq Khan. And I think the noise comes from, obviously social media and from the right wing, that they're so unhappy with him. And you can see why he gets upset, because actually he's had to turn off his comments. And the one time he kept them on very recently, the racism and Islamophobia that man faces is worse than the trolling I get, like by far. And everyone who seems to have a problem, and from what I see, are people who just have a problem with his ethnicity and religion. And you cannot convince me otherwise.
Okay, so to come back on that as the person who created the petition, I've said in every single interview I've done, nothing to do with his race, his ethnicity or anything like that. It's to do with his track record. And what I've said is his track record as mayor has been increasing our council tax by 71%. Crime's 20% higher than the UK average anywhere else. Here in London, robberies up. Well, it is. You can check it on the Metropolitan Police.
No, I said it would be. It would be up in London. It's London.
Okay, so our capital is supposed to have the most amount of crime, is what you're saying?
Well, because we're big, it's a big city with the capital of this country. So we're going to. He's also given us cleaner air. He's given us.
So fine. So I'll give you crime.
Free lunches for kids.
Absolutely fine. I'll give you crime. Tube fares. He's increasing them by 4.6%. He promised us 0 days of strikes. He's had over 140. And on the clean air, I completely give you that the inner London expansion of the ULEZ has cleaned up the air. Completely give you that. But the outer London expansion to outer London, where I am up in Harrow, his own report said it would have a negligible impact on air quality. And there's actually data showing that it's getting worse in parts of outer London. So he hasn't given cleaner air to millions of people. So that's just not true. And unfortunately, when people like myself stood up against him at People's Question Time and challenged him on this, he said that anyone who's against the ULEZ expansion is a far-right climate denier. Is that stoking tensions in London? Is that why his comments are turned off? Because he just doesn't like to hear the other side?
No, because if you actually see his comments at one post that he did do, I'm telling you, it's all Islamophobic and racist.
Can't
Literally
you just ignore
every single post.
I ignore comments on my
Well, no, of course he could possibly ignore it, but it proves his point.
Is it even him actually tweeting? Do you think it's not his press team or his press?
Thousands, and they're not bot accounts. He proves his point. In fact, I wish he would leave his comments on, because if he left his comments on, you guys would say, oh my God, this is dreadful. I was shocked. The man is a walking target. Okay. He can't do right for wrong.
Okay, Lee, I'll bring you in.
The man is a walking disaster. As you rightly said, crime up. I mean, there's some stats which I'm sure you've got yourself. Violent crime, 5%, knife crime, 13%, gun crime is up, robbery is up.
Yeah.
We've got the situation with TfL, which you said, which he's in charge of. What was it? He promised 0 strikes, and I think there's been over 140 days worth of strikes. It's. I'm sure you'd be calling out a Conservative mayor, Narinder, if he made a promise like that, and then
it's like finding a needle in the haystack, you guys. It's like, what can we find that he's done wrong? I mean, he's done so much good.
There's plenty he's done wrong. And actually, sorry, Lee, to cut in. One of the things I forgot to talk about is you said, look, he's been elected 3 times. He's loved by Londoners. Yeah, yes. By 30% of people who bothered to go to the polls. The lowest turnout of any of the elections that we have here in the UK. Local elections of higher turnout.
It's irrelevant.
Like, that's ridiculous.
He's also been tied up in these Taylor Swift tickets. He had 6 Taylor Swift tickets worth over £1,000, and there's controversy over how his involvement in arranging this completely ludicrous police escort. And then, of course, he declared it all late. So he's a bit of a rule breaker as well. But I've seen what's made me laugh about this is I've seen a few commentators genuinely who are quite middle of the road commentators asked what his achievements are, and a lot of them are really struggling to answer that question. I mean, one of the biggest problems I have with Sadiq Khan, and this is going on for quite some time, although it has died down a little bit now, is the way he's also the commissioner of the Metropolitan Police, and he has allowed for probably the best part of pretty much since October the 7th, hate marches to take place in London and turn London into a no-go zone for Jews, which I find reprehensible. He should lose his job for that alone. And this is a man, by the way, who says that he doesn't feel safe in London himself, where he's got armoured cars, police protection. You know, if this is a man that's saying himself that he does not feel safe in London, can you imagine how the average Londoner thinks?